This is Between Hook Sets. I'm Jason Walter from In Through the Outdoors with my partner in slime, Curt Underhill from the Fishing Crew.
What do you know tonight, man?
Well, I know that no matter how much you press on that little live button, it won't do anything.
Well,
I've tried.
Awesome.
I've tried. Anyway, just tried to make the thing look a little bit better, a little bit more fun, a little more professional. It's kind of fun to fiddle around with some of this digital stuff once you get the hang of it.
Yeah, change it up a little bit. So
yeah, pretty exciting. And you know, the crazy thing, we started this, I don't know, back in March, and I was so afraid of being on TV, so to speak. And now it just kind of comes natural, and it's crazy. All of our guests, whether they're afraid or not, pop on, and it's like they've done it before as well. So it's really fun that we're at that point, at that juncture in our lives.
Like we said when we started this is just going to be a casual, fun thing, and so far it's been great. And I appreciate everybody tuning in, watching, sharing it. It's been awesome to see the feedback and hear people say, I watched your show, or get a text message or comments on the show. So it's been a lot of fun. The guests have been great. If you guys have any ideas of stuff you want to hear, ping me or Jason. If you'd like to hear something, we look for different ideas and what people are interested in. And so don't be afraid to say, hey, I think this would be a good topic. And we'll take it under wraps and probably run with it. So, feel free to give us ideas of content or somebody you think would be interesting, people would like to hear from, because we've had some great guests and they're continuing. I mean, it's just been awesome for the people to hop on with us. And it's been so much fun to listen to these people and hear the stories and just have a great chat.
It is. And when you think about guests week to week, they haven't been too hard to find lately. They just kind of fall into place because of state records. And then this week contemplated a couple of different people, and then it kind of hit us. Well, wait a minute, we're talking records. And I know that Curt Reeff from PKLures has a couple of world records under his belt, or the PKLures do. And of course, he's the owner of PKLures now. So it only seemed to be a natural progression to grab Curt and have him on the show with the world records, and he'll explain those. And then they've got a whole bunch of new innovative tackle for the new ice season that we'll get a chance to talk about too. So I'm excited for tonight, no doubt.
Yeah, we'll pick Curt's brain. And I mean, I remember seeing these things 2008, 2009 at ICAST. And, I will say one thing about PK, you hit on the head, is innovative. They make stuff that nobody else makes, and it catches fish. I have an ice box full and summer stuff full of their bait. So let's bring Curt on and get some insight from the owner.
Hey, Curt.
Hey, guys.
How you doing tonight?
Great. How about you guys? Ready for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, getting there.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of stoked for Thanksgiving. It's going to go so fast. We're going to blow through Christmas, and we'll be into the new year so fast that I really need the next 30 days to just enjoy the daylights out of the holidays.
Yeah, and we'll be on ice. We'll be on ice hopefully soon. I mean, it's been too nice here. Deer hunting's been tough because of the nice weather. What's it like up north for you guys? Is it cooling off and stuff starting to freeze over up there?
I had the boat out today. We were out at Lake Hawaii, and it's been pretty good in the last couple of weeks. We caught some real nice fish. Today's report is it was smaller fish, so wasn't too happy with the results, but the fish are still there. They're in their annual migration north up to Bismarck, and we get some ice here. We can maybe things will change and get on those big ones again.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder, with the weather now starting to cool down, I think maybe we're into fall, early winter for certain here. As December hits, my thought is start to freeze. Let's go below zero and let's do this thing. Hold off on the snow and let's go.
Yeah, let's keep that snow away for us non-snow bear owners to get on the ice.
Yeah, Kurt's got an awesome snow bear, and I got to see some of the stuff Adam Renis has. He's got a decked out deal for the Randalls. I saw that up in Fargo at the Ice Fest at Shields, and that thing is unbelievable. We'll have a video on that here one of these days. I took some shots, and it's pretty awesome. But Kurt, let's talk about PK. I'm just going to pop up a couple of photos here. This is the world record catch and release angling achievement, National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. Tim won this one, and I hope I've got Tim's picture right. I think this is Tim's picture, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Tim,
Okay. So I remember that coming along in 2011, plain as day, because I was using the flutter spoons, and it was such an awesome deal. And then we just had a blast with it. Talk about that whole world record.
well, how this kind of originated is I bought the company in 2018 from Pat O'Grady. Pat O'Grady is out of Cheyenne, Wyoming. He's the founder. He's the one that invented the PK flutterfish and the PK spoon, and he would go out fishing in Wyoming, and he would drop this stuff down to the ice and watch how it would work, and it was all really cool and two awesome products. He got a hold of Tim Guinea, and in 2011, Tim had a camera crew with him, and they were going on Last Mountain to film how the PK spoons and PK flutterfish worked. And he had a full film crew, and he was using the PK spoon, if I remember right, in pearl chartreuse, and he caught a walleye that was 33 3/4 inches long. Now, being they had everything filmed, they were able to get the measurements, and it was undisputable because it was all on film. It was all on film. He turned that over to the Freshwater Hall of Fame, which is out of Hayward, Wisconsin. This is a worldwide thing now, but this is catch and release. It's not catch and kill. That's the big difference. In 2011, a 33 3/4 inch fish was the biggest documented walleye that was caught and live released on film to date. And now how this works is that with the Freshwater Hall of Fame, they don't go by weight. It's all by measurements. And being he was a 33 3/4, he got put in a 33-inch class. They do not recognize. So
Okay.
whether it's a quarter or a half, it all goes to a 33-inch class. Since then, it was beat now like 3 times. It was beat two times in 2011. Once again out of Last Mountain, and then there was a lake out of Ontario where they caught walleye that were over 33 inches. I'm sorry, they were over 34 inches. So Tim's record got beat, but there was 2 other walleye that were like 33 1/4 and whatever, but they got put into a 34-inch class. So Tim's was beat. And then in 2015, Darren McWilliams out of Brandon, Manitoba caught a walleye, I think it was 34.5 inches on a pearl chartreuse flutterfish on Lake Winnipeg. So now there's 3 walleye tied for the world record, PK being one of them, or Darren McWilliams, which was caught on a PK, being one of them, which current stands today. So in order to get the new world record, you're going to need a 35-inch fish.
Which is incredible. I mean, a 34-inch walleye is incredible. And I mean, the way fishing's going and the way stuff's happening, these guys aren't, I didn't really know what this was about documenting it. So we'll see if more guys document this going forward, because it's always been go weigh it in, see if you got a state record. But that world record thing, like you said, is all about the inches. They don't recognize quarters. It's it's inch marks, and it'll be interesting to see if something happens.
Well, and it's kind of harder to, or it's more difficult to get a world record catch on, say, Lake Hawaii when you're fishing 25, 30 feet of water, because the fish just don't do well when they're caught out of water that deep. Where Darren McWilliams fished in 2015, I think it was caught in 14 feet of water over on Lake Winnipeg, where it's going to do great on that. And Tim Genny's in 2011 on Last Mountain, I think they were under 20 feet of water. So it's a lot easier to keep that fish healthy when you're not in that deep water.
Yeah,
well, we know
100% correct on that deep water hooking. You know, that's been a big topic in South Dakota for a while, is that deep water hooking mortality. And, you know, and then that's awesome that these fish were caught that shallow and they know they can go back and, you know, they're going to live.
It's, you know, I put that post on PK here last week, and we had a lot of response to on our end that a lot of people caught, you know, fish that were 33 inches, and they should have had a world record too, you know. But the big difference to understand is this is catch and release, or catch and live release, and it has to be documented, you know. And a fish that is 33 inches is a huge fish. I think I've caught 4 out of Lake Winnipeg that were pushing that 12.4 to 12.6. I'm sorry, that was pounds, but they went like 32.5 inches each one of them. I can't imagine having a fish that's 35 inches. I can't wait to see it, you know.
Well, you look at Keith Panzer's state record, it was 33 inches and 18 pounds. You know, yeah. Now you can look at us, we're all built different. So fish are built a little different, but, you know, it's going to be a big fish if it comes in 35 inches. I mean, it's going to weigh a lot.
Well, it's going to be probably pretty girthy too. Although I just did an episode, it'll air here, I think next week. It's about Minnesota's state record walleye that was caught back in 1979. That one was actually 17 pounds, 8 ounces, and it measured 35 3/4 inches long. So there are some long fish out there. So maybe the 35 or 36 inch walleye is going to be a skinnier fish rather than girthy.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd expect to see something shake loose here in the next 5-10 years, the way things are going. With everyone getting better at fishing, with having forward-facing sonar, it just really changed the game. We can actually see what's down there, and it's making everybody a better angler.
Yeah, and that's true.
It really is. And the baits that are coming out, right? I mean, the baits, companies like you that are innovating new things, you know, all the different tackles coming out. And that's the one thing, like I said, my box is full of PK stuff. You guys do stuff so different. And that was, I mean, I in 2008, 2009, whenever I was at ICAST and Pat was down there and he's showing me this crankbait that he can pull at like 15 miles an hour. And I go, and it won't spin out. And I go, what do you ever need to pull a crankbait at 15 miles an hour, Pat? Like what is the point? And, you know, he had different theories of how it dove with the fins and stuff like that. And it's just cool to see somebody take different thinking into a bait.
Well, no one, like in 15, Darren McWilliams caught that fish on Lake Winnipeg. The way I understand the story, he started out fishing rattlebaits, and rattlebaits are a great bait up there. And they were determining that rattlebaits were spooking the walleye, so they switched to a spoon. Spoons are a great alternative. You know, they got a lot of flash. Our spoons are a little different. They're a little heavier on one end, so when you jig them, they kind of kick out to the side. This gives them a different action, kind of like a glide bait, but different, you know. But he was smart enough to understand that what he was using wasn't working that day, so they switched. We're not saying PK is your one lure to catch all, but being able to recognize that one lure might be working better than some other lure, or maybe it's time to kind of change because that response I'm getting isn't what I want. And that's what he did, and he switched to a spoon, and he got the big girl to bite, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's so crucial. Like we've talked in the past here about confidence baits and stuff like that, but you have to have that change up, right? Like if that, you know, rattle bait's not working, put a spoon on. you just never know, especially through the ice. It's not like you're trolling or drifting past these and you're targeting, the fish are moving, but you're not really moving to the fish. So you got to play with the fish that are below you and know the right stuff to put in front of them.
Yeah, like, it can be a simple change up, like a smaller profile. You can use the exact same color, same deal, but go to if I'm using like a half-ounce spoon or like I guess for right now up in Lake Winnipeg, the trend is to go to smaller. Traditionally,
Really?
I go up there with a half-ounce spoon, maybe like a 3-ounce spoon. Where last year we're using a 1/4-ounce spoon, but using that bigger hook on it, and kind of switching out that hook to the upsize. But that smaller spoon seemed to work great. But with the how things are changing up on Lake Winnipeg, it's getting clearer water, zebra mussels, they can see better. It's not what it was 8 years ago. It's all changing.
And I guess when you talk about Winnipeg and smaller stuff, I'm guessing that some of these rattle spoons might work quite well up there in Winnipeg. Is this something new for this year?
This is probably our 3rd year with the rattle spoon. I kind of designed that the way I like to fish. One side's got a paint color that you can glow up. I like having colors I can glow for the early morning, late evening bite. We call it a low light bite. And then for middays, I like metal colors like a nickel, gold, copper. So what I did is we put one side with a paint color. Probably one of the most popular colors in Winnipeg is your Wonder Bread. It's got the Wonder Bread on one side. It's got a gold metallic on the back side. So those are 2 great colors for almost anywhere. But now we have a large brass rattle chamber that's making a little bit of noise down there. And then we got a welding blade on top of it. So we have some more flash. So we got metal flash, we got rattle chamber, we got noise, and we got colors we can glow. I mean, it's the one lure you can literally use all day long.
Well, and I'm sure that blade on the top is also clacking against that bait too. Not just giving flash, it's hitting that, that spoon as it's going up and down as well.
That's the one secret that a lot of guys won't tell you, is that having a blade on there kind of makes that spoon work better. PK is kind of like known for spoons. We started out as an ice fishing company, and it was all about spoons. We've done spoons almost every way I can think of, big ones, small ones, but adding that blade on it sometimes is everything you need to do. Without it, yeah, you're still going to catch fish, but by having that blade on there, it just makes everything better. And we added it to it on the rattle spoon. That's the only lineup that really has that blade attached to it. We have it in our PK Predators too, but they don't have a rattle in it. We have it on our PK Predator Tungstens, but there's no rattle. But the rattle spoon is pretty much has everything you need to go out and have a successful day on the ice.
Now you talk big and you talk small. Did you ever think you'd go really small?
Well, that's kind of what we targeted this year. Is I got into chasing bluegills a couple years ago, and I don't have bluegills where I'm at. I kind of never really caught a bluegill, and I got into this called the NAIFC. It's like a national panfish tournament. They have different tournaments throughout the U.S. We started out in Lake Okoboji. I can't say that too well. Down just east of, just west of Sioux Falls. We went down there with the snow bear, and we were kind of confined to a part of that lake where we could fish. So me being a walleye guy, I'm like, well, this is going to be easy to break down. We can only fish a little area here, I mean, how hard is this going to be? So we go down there. We got our PK Predator Tungstens. That's a 16th ounce. It's got a blade. We're going down there with our like perch crappie line, probably a 6 or 8 pound test, and we could see him down there. And We couldn't give them the bite. We spent 2 days down there throwing stuff at them. And these things are really driving me kind of off the wall, but I'm very competitive. I'm not going to quit, you know? So I'm like, I go online and I'm figuring out how to catch a bluegill, and I see something that goes to like 2-pound tests. So we go out and buy some 2-pound tests, and I've never bought really 2-pound tests for anything. I just don't really use it around where I'm at. And then we have the idea of taking off the blade, and then we got the idea of taking off the treble hook and dropping it away from the spoon, right? Getting the hook away from the spoon, that seemed to trigger these fish. It's like it got them more comfortable, you know? So everything else kind of scared them. So I got the ideal, and then we kind of refined it. We went to Lake Metagoshi for a different tournament, and started catching some more fish. Again, we weren't catching the fish that these guys that target these guys that fish bluegills are athletes, right? These guys know what they're doing. They're out there drilling holes. I'm up there fishing. They might have been a little intimidated. I'm like, I'm not competing with you guys. I'm just here to learn some stuff. And I got a snow bear. I'm not getting out of my snow bear, you know. But these guys put a schooling on. I mean, I've probably caught 4 or 5, maybe 6 fish. These guys are bringing in buckets. But seeing what they're doing, it's all smaller presentations and this and that. And then I got with my guys. I'm like, well, how small can we make our spoon? I thought a 16th ounce tungsten was pretty small, but in the real world of bluegills, it's big. It's huge, you know. So down in Sioux Falls for the sports show, talking to a bunch of them guys from Iowa and Illinois that fish. They like our stuff, but they're like, it's just so big. And I'm like, big? You know, it's not that big, but okay, let's come out with something smaller. So we come out with this 1/32 ounce tungsten, and we put a dropper on it. And we went out to Devil's Lake when Adam Renas from Glacier Lakes had that snowbird tournament last fall, and we kind of had some prototypes for out throwing them around. And that's an area where you got big perch and you got big walleye in the same area. So we're over off of Graham's Island working some humps, and we're catching, you know, 5, 6, 7 perch in that 13 and a half inch class. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool, you know. And then the perch disappear, and then we got these walleye that weigh 3 pounds come in, and we're catching walleye on the same rig, that Metagoshi rig. And having a drop chain that doesn't break when you catch a 3-pound walleye, I thought was pretty cool. Because
no doubt.
any kind of drop chain I've used, they just break, and they don't work when they break, right? So I was happy with what we had, so we come out with it, put it into production. But the ideal is we're having the smallest spoon I think I can make is a 1/32 ounce tungsten with a drop chain and a hook. But what's nice about it now, if you don't, well, here's the deal. I was showing all this to all these guys, right, that are fishing these like bluegill tournaments, and I'm thinking I come out with the best thing ever, and they're like, you know what would make that better? Just put a treble hook underneath of it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's easy enough to do. So we gave them the option of both. We have them 6 colors with a treble hook and 6 with a drop chain. We've had a real good response with them in Sioux Falls. We had a real good response with them at the Ice Fest up in Kirkwood and in Bismarck. Our online sales are doing great with them. It's going to be a great lure to catch fish when the fish are finicky. You know, go into a smaller profile. It's all about when you have wind or cold front comes through and the fish get a little like, you know, sensitive. Go into a smaller profile, getting the bait away from the spoon. That's what's going to get these fish to go. And on that Metagoshi rig, having that bait away from the spoon, it looks like bait chasing bait, and that's what bluegill. That's what they eat, but it's also going to be great on crappie and perch, and it's going to catch you into a walleye as well.
So I've been kind of, Pat Hamilton and James Edlin came out to Mobridge years ago, and we did something similar to that. We took a rattle spoon, and we took the treble hook off the bottom, tied up a short little string, you know, an inch long string with a super small treble hook, and a glow bead on that and then side hooked our minnows and put them on our rattle reels. And they wrote a full story called Nap Time Walleyes with it. And that fish would just sit down there and swim below that rattle spoon. So I've been doing that since then. And that was, 10 years ago, probably we did that deal. And it's just incredible to see what the fish do when you put that down. I even put it down on dead rods. In South Dakota, we can run 4 lines, so we'll put it down on dead rods.
Yeah. On that Menegoshi rig at the Ice Fest in Kirkwood there, I was tipping I went back to their minnow tank area, and I stole a couple, minnows, and I hooked one to the back tail, and just, that was on display there, and just watching that minnow trying to swim away, it created so much action. Yep. Where I think it's going to be a great dead, stick rod. But what's so neat about PKLures, say the spoons, rattle spoon, they're all interchangeable, where if you don't like a hook, take the hook off, put a different one on. It isn't like you're stuck with it. You can play around with it. It's so versatile, where you can take that and you can make it into something else, which isn't really required, but as a good angler, sometimes you got to make little changes to get things to kind of go. That hook on the Menegoshi rig, it just pops right off. And if you want a drop chain with a treble hook, just take the single hook off and put a treble on. You can do whatever you want with that.
And that's awesome. And like I said, the forward thinking, and you're a true fisherman. I mean, you fish my open water tournaments. I've seen you at our ice tournaments, at the Snow Bear tournament last year we did with Adam. You are out there fishing your lures. And not saying other companies aren't, but you're, a small operation. And I don't mean to say that like you don't sell a lot of gear, but you're not, the big name brand, lure company where you're engineering and you're fishing these and you're changing them up and taking that input from fishermen and doing the things with these baits. And I think that's why you guys are so cutting edge with the different styles. And, it might intimidate people when they look at it and go, oh, why do we need that bait with the spinner on top and this and that? And, I've got a spoon you gave me it's a big spoon. It's got 2 spinners in the middle. And people look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, it works. It catches fish.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I do like to fish. I do it for a couple of reasons. I just like to be outdoors, but I do it to kind of learn what's going on. I'm not going to get the education sitting at home. I like to talk to different anglers, see what they like, see what they want. We have a new glide bait coming out next year, and a part of this glide bait is from input from other anglers. I didn't really think of this on my own. I had help from other guys that are fishing. They're like, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Some of these ideas are great. Some of them like, you know what, that might be something. So we took a few pieces of it and put it together, and I think we're going to be coming out. I was out the last week and a half with our open water, testing things out, and been smoking some nice fish with it. And but this time of year, that's going to kind of happen anyways. But no, we got some great stuff coming out for next year. As always, I'm always excited about it, but it's going to be cool, unique. Nothing else really like it. There's stuff similar, but it's different. So looking forward to getting that out here in the spring.
Well, in going to innovation, I mean, even your stuff, like even going back to the simple bottom bouncing spinning technique, you've taken, you've got the PK disc and you've got the wobbler, and you've taken all these ideas and just, even the basic put a bottom bouncer down with a crawler harness behind it, but you've taken it to the next level with some of the stuff you've come up with. And
we didn't do that on purpose. It was half of that was by accident.
Yeah, but that's the genius of it.
On that PK wobbler, Pat O'Grady had a piece of balsa wood, and he was kind of shaving that. He got it to I had probably 24 different designs of it, and I was supposed to pick one. Or I was kind of playing around with them, and I got the one I liked. And if you look at the PK wobbler, what it is today, one side's flat and the other side's like rounded, concave, whatever. cooler, and then it was made out of balsa wood. So we put the rounded side on the fishing line towards your fishing pole. So the idea was it would wobble back and forth, and as you sped up, it would wobble a little faster. We called it the PK wobbler. Just made sense. It was a float that had action. I go, there's not many floats that really have action. So put that into production to come back, and we weren't thinking about this, to come back as a piece of styrofoam. Balsa wood has a certain amount of buoyancy, but styrofoam is way more buoyant. We got it back as like a bobber. I put it in the water. I'm like, it ain't doing nothing. It's just a piece of bobber I'm pulling behind. And I'm like, wow, I got a lot of these. We didn't think this one through, So we're sitting around with a couple buddies, and we're trying to think, did we mess up here? What am I going to do with these? So we got the idea. Let's just flip it around. So now the part that's flat, when you thread that through your string, whatever, and that the flat side now, that faces your fishing pole. And I'm no water engineer, but what that does, that displaces water, and it causes it to wobble and spin one way 3-4 times. And without line twist, it spins the other way 3-4 times. It just causes, and that's covering a bigger circle than a traditional spinner. A traditional spinner is going to pull one line, the spin, but the wobbler takes up more of an area, and it's multi-directional float. This thing now does way more than I ever imagined, and we got a multi-directional lure that no one's got that. So I put a lot of money into the patent, which I probably shouldn't have, but then you want to protect your thing, and so we actually got the patent on that, and super cool lure. It's I do better with it maybe in the fall. Not saying you can't use it in the spring, but when the walleye are more on a feeding frenzy, it seems like you can't keep them off. I fished the National Walleye Tour. I've cashed a couple checks on that on Erie and Green Bay, just using that. A lot of live baiters don't do as well at these tournaments. It's more of a jigging bait or glide bait, but trying to use our lures to try to break through. That's kind of what the whole game's about for us, I guess. We're trying to put ourselves on the actual map doing it against the best anglers. But that wobbler was totally by accident, but probably one of the best innovations in spinners to date that I can think of. Even if I didn't own the company, it's a cool lure.
Well, you started using it with crankbaits too.
I was up on Erie here 2 weeks ago doing the fall brawl. We kind of started doing that a couple years ago. I don't know why, but my dad started putting it in front of bandits. When you go to Lake Erie, you're going to pull a bandit, right? That's just, you're not going to go to Erie without pulling a bandit. They like the big stick baits. Dad got the idea to put a wobbler in front of it, and his pole's going off like 5-1 against ours, even the same color. And we're like, does the wobbler have something to do with this? We're trying to figure it out. In the water, it's just a bigger profile, maybe a little different pause, wobble. I don't know, but we went out 2 weeks ago and did the same thing. Wobblers did great in front of bandits. We put them in front of Walleye Nation's Creations. We put them in front of Bagley's. We put them in front of bandits. Same color, some without a wobbler, some with the wobbler. But at the end of the day, we were thinking wobbler got to be on there, but we'll be going out again here in April, fishing the NWT, and we'll be doing the same thing, see what happens.
So Cheryl's asking, Cheryl, by the way, hello, and thanks for watching. She's in Lakeville, Minnesota, so she can't come to Linton and buy anything out of the vending machine, but you can get spoons on the website, right?
PKLure.com. We're fully stocked with whatever you need. If you don't have a store by you, check out the website. There's always free shipping on all orders over $75. You can use promo code PKPRO at checkout, and you can save 15% off your order. Whatever we can do to cut some costs down for you. And remember, there's free shipping, and hope you have some luck with them.
Awesome. Cheryl, thank you. Hope to see you guys soon. I'm headed to the cities next weekend for the big show in St. Paul, but Curt, you're headed in the other direction.
Well, we got a lot going on. This Friday in Linton, we're having our annual open house. We have the small town of Linton has a big parade. It's called the light up the night parade. We have Christmas music on Main Street, something you would see like on a Hallmark show or something, right? It's actually pretty cool. Everybody comes home for this. Family and friends come home and kind of fills up the whole town of Linton. Big parade going on. We have an open house Friday at our store in Linton. We're right on Main Street. We've got a PKLures sign up front. We'll be open all day. Come in. We got some pricing that's probably a little better than the sports show pricing. And we got some new colors coming out here like in 2 years, I found. We're going to have them in there that I really can't show anywhere else. So if you're in the area, it's going to be worth coming down. You're going to get some new options for some different colors on some things. But after that, and then next weekend, we're up at River City Sports in Bismarck. They're having their annual open house at River City Sports in Bismarck. They're a boat dealer. They have ice castles, anything ice fishing, open water. There's going to be different vendors there. They got the Willcraft. If you ever seen one of them, they're the actual dealer in the area for them, and that's a cool rig. I got mine here, and it's something I'm not going to go without for early ice and late ice. Again, I'm an angler, and I like to be safe when I'm out there. It's a great option, and I kind of use that to check the ice conditions before I take my snow bear out.
That thing looks like it's a lot of fun to run around the ice. Like you're in a bass boat on ice.
Well, I got a buddy here in Pierre that has one. He's ice fished areas that nobody's ever dreamed of because of that machine.
Well, I can get on the ice about probably 2 weeks before anybody else can. And again, you're on there safely. I can go on to probably 2 inches of ice. I have a bigger footprint. That's how the whole thing works. And should you get in a bad situation, you're still safe. You know, if you had an ATV or something like that, you're just going to be in a bad situation, and it's not going to be going fishing anymore. It's going to be recovery, you know, and that's not something anybody wants to do.
No, absolutely not. And that's a good point of, you know, the ice is starting to form, and, you know, safety is key, because you want to make it back home. You want to make it to that next trip, and, you know, ice picks or, you know, Willcraft, just, you know, because you see a guy out there in a Willcraft doesn't mean you can venture out, you know, on your feet necessarily, because I'm sure you don't even leave that thing when you're on that thin ice. You just sit right in it and fish.
No, and like I said, I'm kind of based out of I'm on the northern portion of Lake Oahe. We're probably 20 miles north of the South Dakota state line, and we're fishing on the Missouri River. It's an unsafe body of water. We got current, structure, ice is changing daily, you know, so having one of these rigs for first ice and late ice is a must. And then we have some cool lakes within an hour over by Hague and Wishick and Ashley, Napoleon. They got some real cool bodies of water. They got perch and all this, and when everyone else gets off the ice, we can still go on for a couple extra weeks.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So the new stuff for this year we're looking at is the micros with the drop chain. Anything else coming out? And the glide baits are coming out this summer, or are they out now, or when do we expect the glide baits to hit?
The glide baits will out this spring, but we also have a mini ridge rattler. And if you're familiar with our rattle baits, we went with a small ridge rattler as well, a little over an inch long. Again, the idea with this is smaller profile. We have them already in a 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, and 3/4 ounce, and that 1/2 ounce is killer up on Lake Winnipeg. But we just went to a smaller size. The idea was to target perch and crappie. But again, we had them in front of walleye, and they just inhale this thing. You gotta pry it out with the pliers.
So, you know, we've talked a lot about your company, but, you know, how did you get into this? I mean, you know, you said Pat O'Grady started this thing out of Wyoming. You're from North Dakota. You know, what is you're a fisherman, obviously, an outdoorsman. What is your background, and how did you get into this business?
Well, after I got out of high school, I went right into the Marine Corps, right? I was in there for 6 years. So I've been trying to catch up on the 6 years I lost in the Marines. And I just can't catch up on it. You know, I fish as much as I can, like to hunt. But those 6 years, the guy loses, you just don't get back, you know. So I'm out there. I just enjoyed out there. But I got into PKs from my cousin. We were out here on Lake Hawaii fishing for crappie, and I was using some other lure, and they were using PK Predators. And it was my cousin and his 3 boys and me. And I think back then you can keep like 15 or 20 crappie a piece. His boys were like small, right? Like 10, 11, and 12, whatever. And they were out. I probably caught 1 fish to 10 of theirs. I'm like, what are you guys using? I'm like, he goes, a PK Predator. I go, I've never heard of it. So I took some pictures of it and I did some looking into it. And I got a hold of Tim Genny with PK. And I showed him a bunch of what we did, and we're catching all these crappie, and he's like, "Oh, that's really cool," you know. So he gave me a couple lures, and then we started going to Lake Winnipeg, and we had a great day with their big PK Panics and their big spoons up on Lake Winnipeg. And again, I showed him some pictures. About a year or 2 went on, and Pat O'Grady, the guy that started everything, wanted to come up to Lake Winnipeg and wanted to go fishing. So I took him out fishing for a week. And I hit up Pat. I go, well, how do I become an investor? And he goes, I really don't want any investors, but if I would sell it, I'd want to sell it to someone like you where he can still be a part of it and this and that. And after a week or 2, we made out a deal, and there I am. I'm making tackle. So
that's a great story.
And Pat's still involved designing some stuff and working.
Talk to Pat probably daily. Yeah, probably every other day. He's still kicking around ideals, and some of the stuff is great. And, you know, it's all great, but just having someone to kind of reach out to and talk to, and, you know, a lot of my friends aren't at the level where fishing as much as I do, or they might have different ideals. And yeah, we listen to everything, but it's always fun to, I don't really have a staff of people to pick from apart, you know, so I kind of pick on different anglers and this and that, but end of the day, it all works out.
And that's awesome. Like I said, it's a small company. You rely on your family and friends, and, you know, you've got the founder still involved in it, which is so cool. And I mean, Pat's, like I said, Pat's a visionary. I don't know how many times I can say it tonight, because the stuff that guy comes up with, I'm like I remember seeing those crankbaits. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was just like, these things can do this and blah. And I'm like, wow. Like, you know, but it's just so cool to hear and see, you know, a blade on a spoon, or, you know, now you're looking at getting smaller and putting drop chains. And, you know, that's been something that's been, you know, drop chains have been around, but you're, like you said, now I can trust it. Now I've taken that profile down really small. Your thought idea of glow on one side and, you know, metal colors on the other, it's, you know, it's completely different than a lot of the other bait companies. They dip it and they call it good, you know. And
well, no, and that like a crankbait that Pat first come out with was called PK Ridgeline crankbait, and it's got ridges on the side, and it's got a real good swimming action. Ideal for waters 10 feet and less, but you can always run them on lead core. I've got one running all the time out here, and I catch a lot of fish with it. It's just that we took that body style and made it into our Ridgeline. We took that body style, made it into our rattle bait, our PK Ridge Rattler. It's got the ridges on the side. If you've ever used one of them before, what it is, it's a lipless crankbait. It's a rattle bait. When you rip that, those ridges on the side cause vibration. I don't get that vibration using other rattle baits. And what we did, we put extra weight in the front. We call it a weight forward design. The lure's always trying to dive down. As you rip it, it's you always have that vibration, and it's always trying to dig down. So I can tell if that lure's working or not when I feel it. Where the other ones, I don't get that till I reel it in and I find out, oh, it's fall hook. You know, I just wasted how much time, you know. But where it's great for ice fishing, it's gonna have vibration. It's got rattle. It's got flash. It's a great lure. Race good. It's also a great lure for open water. It casts like a bullet. We use it a lot up in Devil's Lake. We use it a lot around here, but shallow water, deep water, I can use it in a boat pulling like 0.3 miles an hour. I'm still on the bottom. I can feel the bottom. And the idealized baits, you got to hit the bottom for these fish to pin it, you know? So when I can feel where I'm at, it's easier to fish, and fish crush it when it's actually doing what it's supposed to do.
That's fantastic. I can't believe I wasn't smart enough to have a picture of one of those. And I have one sitting upstairs on my kitchen cupboard, and I didn't bring it down with me.
And we're kind of using that same profile now when we use our glide bait, because how do you make a new glide bait when everything's been done? I mean, how do you make something different? And
please make the back fins not break.
Right. I took mine here under the Beaver Bay Bridge down here, and I'm casting it against the concrete pillar. People are driving by looking like, what's this guy doing? And I totally crushed all the paint off. Did not break a fin. So I think they've come a long way with how they design this stuff now. But basically, we took our Ridgeline crankbait, took that profile, and put it into a shad type profile, and that's going to be part of our glide bait program with a couple other things on there that you have not seen before.
That's exciting.
That's awesome.
Fabulous. Well, Curt, it's been great to have you on. Honestly, you got to know it was a good show, because I kept my mouth shut pretty much through the whole thing, because all I did was listen. I love it.
Well, no, thank you, Beyond, and you know, we got some cool stuff coming out for spring. We got the glide bait, and we got a rattle float as part of our pro series for our Dakota disc, wobbler, and reef blades. It's a little float that rattles. There's some on the market, but put ours in front of a Dakota disc or a wobbler. It's going to actually make noise and do stuff. You know, we've been testing that out up on Last Mountain, and I'd had it up going over here on Erie 2 weeks ago, and we were crushing fish on crawlers on Erie first part of November, and I don't think that's really known for a crawler bite, but we were doing better than the bandits with that. So it's going to be a thing. Look forward to the spring. It's actually already on our website. So, but no, I could keep talking fishing with you guys all night long. That's for sure.
Well, we sure do appreciate you taking your time, Curt. I know we'll see you down the road. Curt was a great sponsor of the Governor's Cup. He gave everybody some lure or some crawler harnesses, and we passed those out to all the anglers and got some compliments on them. So we appreciate what you're doing. We appreciate PKLures and their innovation in the industry. Every time something comes out, I look at it and I buy it, and I've got stuff in my tackle box here. That one spoon that's got the spinners on it, the crossover jig. I've got all those, and people look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, they work. Try them, you know. So, guys, get out there, check out some PKLures. They're in some stores. There's definitely PKLures.com. You guys can find all of your, PKLure stuff, and Curt and the crew will help you out if you got any questions, I'm sure. So it's been great having you, Curt. I look forward to seeing you here in the near future on the ice or at a show. So we appreciate your time.
As always, thanks, guys, and wish you guys the best Thanksgiving. So
you too,
Curt. Same to you. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll see you guys.
Fantastic. What a great show. That was a lot of fun, Curt. Thank you very much. Let's wrap her up.
Have a great Thanksgiving.